Welcome to the world of mystery and thrill. If you think real life is free of terrifying stories, think again. In this video, we'll take you on a journey through some of the strangest true stories that actually happened. Stories that will send chills down your spine and make you question, could this really be possible? Buckle up and get ready to be amazed. Let's begin. Imagine being declared dead. Your heart stops, your breathing ceases, and the cold grip of death takes hold. Now imagine waking up, clawing your way back to life, only to discover that death wasn't the end but the beginning of something far more sinister. This is the story of Michael Whitaker, a man who cheated death, or so he thought. It all began on a cold December night. Michael, a 38-year-old construction worker, collapsed at his home. Paramedics arrived swiftly, but after 30 minutes of CPR and no response, he was pronounced dead. His family, devastated, began making arrangements, their grief heavy and raw. But then, something extraordinary happened. 2 hours after being taken to the morgue, Michael's lifeless body suddenly jerked. A mortuary assistant screamed as Michael gasped for air, his eyes wide with terror. Against all odds, he had returned to life. The doctors called it a medical miracle, but Michael knew better. He spoke of a dark void, a place where time didn't exist and shadowy figures whispered his name. "They didn't want me to leave," he said, his voice trembling. At first, his family was overjoyed, but their relief soon turned to fear. Michael began acting strangely. He avoided mirrors, muttered in his sleep, and refused to stay alone in the dark. He claimed he wasn't alone, that something had followed him back. One night, Michael woke up screaming, clawing at his chest. He said he felt icy hands pulling him down, trying to take him back. His health deteriorated rapidly, and within a month, he passed away again. But this time, there was no coming back. To this day, Michael's story remains a chilling reminder. Some doors, once opened, can never truly be closed. One cold day, the death of a 12-year-old girl in the Philippines was announced after she suffered from a mysterious fever. During her funeral, while everyone was mourning, the unimaginable happened. Imagine the scene. A quiet funeral, the air heavy with sorrow. Family and friends gather to say their final goodbyes to a young girl, taken too soon. But what happened next would haunt them forever. As the priest read the final prayers, the unthinkable happened. Her hand moved. Gasps echoed through the room as the young girl, once thought lifeless, opened her eyes and sat up in her coffin. Doctors had declared her dead after she succumbed to a sudden, unexplained illness. Her heart had stopped, her body cold. Or so they thought. Was it a miracle? A medical mistake? Or something far more sinister? As the girl gasped for air, she revealed chilling details of her experience between life and death. She claimed to have seen shadows, heard voices calling her back. Whatever happened to her during those moments of supposed death remains a mystery that science cannot explain.
I'm sorry for worrying you. This wasn't my fault, it was the doctor's mistake. I truly apologize and hope they don't repeat this with someone else.
This is the story of the girl who woke up at her own funeral, a reminder that the line between life and death can sometimes blur in the most terrifying ways. Mysterious voices from the deep. The Russian drilling incident. In the 1970s, Soviet scientists embarked on an ambitious project known as the Kola Superdeep Borehole, a plan to drill deeper into the Earth than anyone ever had before. Located in a remote region of Russia, the site became a hub for geological discovery, with the team hoping to uncover secrets about the Earth's crust. For years, the project progressed steadily, reaching a staggering depth of over 12 kilometers. However, as they drilled deeper, strange anomalies began to occur. Equipment malfunctioned without explanation, temperatures far exceeded predictions, and unsettling noises were picked up by their instruments. Then came the moment that turned this scientific endeavor into one of the most terrifying legends of modern times. The team decided to lower a highly sensitive microphone into the borehole, along with heat-resistant recording equipment, to capture the sounds of the Earth's interior. What they heard was something no one could have anticipated or explained. The recording revealed faint but unmistakable sounds, human voices screaming in agony. The scientists were stunned. The noises didn't resemble anything natural, like shifting rock or the roar of subterranean magma. Instead, it sounded like a chorus of tortured souls, echoing from the depths of the earth. Word of the discovery spread quickly, and the media dubbed it the well to hell. Some speculated that the scientists had accidentally drilled into a chamber connected to the underworld. Others dismissed it as a hoax or a misinterpretation of geological sounds. Frightened by the implications, the project was abruptly halted. The site was abandoned, leaving the borehole sealed and shrouded in mystery. To this day, the recordings remain a subject of debate. Some claim to have heard them, describing the chilling sounds as irrefutable proof of the supernatural. Others argue it was merely a fabrication. But one thing is certain: the Kola Superdeep borehole continues to fascinate and terrify those who dare to uncover its secrets. The uninvited guests. Imagine moving into your dream home, the perfect house in a quiet neighborhood, filled with endless possibilities. That's exactly what the Miller family thought when they moved into their new home in a small, peaceful town in the United States. But little did they know, they weren't alone. It all started innocently enough. Mrs. Miller noticed objects shifting slightly from where she had placed them. A photo frame tilted on its side, a chair pulled away from the dining table. She brushed it off as clumsiness or the wind. Simple, harmless things. But soon, the incidents became harder to ignore. One evening, as the family sat down for dinner, they heard it. A faint knock coming from the walls. Mr. Miller checked every inch of the house, but no explanation could be found. No loose pipes, no animals in the walls. Just silence. Days turned into weeks, and the strange occurrences escalated. Lights flickered at random. Doors would creak open in the dead of night. Mrs. Miller swore she heard faint whispers in the hallway, whispers that stopped the moment she turned on the light. The children weren't spared either. Their youngest, Emma, began talking about the lady in the corner. A friend, she said, who watched over her while she played. But when Mrs. Miller looked, there was no one there. Just shadows cast by the dim light of Emma's bedside lamp. One night, the family's sense of safety shattered entirely. Mr. Miller woke up to the sound of footsteps, heavy, deliberate steps, coming from the attic above their bedroom. Grabbing a flashlight, he climbed up, expecting to find a raccoon or some other pest. Instead, he found nothing. The attic was empty, but the dust on the floor told a different story. Clear footprints led from the attic door to the corner of the room and then stopped, as if whatever made them had vanished into thin air. Desperate for answers, the Millers called in a paranormal investigator. The findings? Chilling. The house had a dark history. Decades ago, it had belonged to a reclusive woman rumored to dabble in witchcraft. She had vanished without a trace, leaving behind only whispers of strange rituals and unanswered questions. The investigator confirmed what the Millers feared. They were not alone. The uninvited guests were tied to the house, their presence growing stronger with every passing day. Terrified, the Millers packed their belongings and left the house, never looking back. To this day, the home remains empty, its windows dark, its doors locked. But locals claim that if you pass by on a quiet night, you might still hear faint whispers or the sound of footsteps echoing through the empty halls. Some guests don't need an invitation. Some guests never leave. Would you dare to stay in a house like this? Or do you believe there are places where we simply aren't meant to live? Let us know in the comments below, and remember, when you feel like you're being watched, you probably are. The shadowy figure in the abandoned hospital. It was supposed to be a simple night of adventure, a group of thrill-seekers exploring an abandoned hospital long forgotten by time. The air inside was cold, and the silence was deafening, broken only by their hushed whispers and the faint creak of the crumbling walls. The building, once teeming with life, now stood as a decaying monument to its haunted past. Rumors swirled about this place. Patients who never left, nurses who vanished without a trace, and shadows that moved when no one was looking. As they ventured deeper, something caught their attention. In the corner of the camera's lens, a shadow moved, quickly, too quickly for anyone to react. "Did you see that?" One of them whispered, their voice trembling. No one wanted to admit it, but they all saw it. In the main ward, the atmosphere grew heavier, as if the walls themselves were watching. That's when they heard it, a whisper. Faint, unmistakable. Yet, no one was speaking. The flashlight beams darted wildly, but there was nothing there. Or so they thought. Later, as they reviewed the footage, their hearts froze. In the reflection of a shattered mirror, a figure stood behind them. A dark, humanoid shape with no discernible features. It was there for only a second, but that was enough to send chills down their spines. Terrified, they fled the hospital, never looking back. But the experience stayed with them. Some say they brought the shadow home with them, that it now lingers in their dreams, a silent observer waiting in the darkness. Was it a trick of the light, a figment of their imagination, or something far more sinister? One thing is certain, some shadows are best left undisturbed.